They were doing close to you, but they managed to get their streets flat.
It's flat, right? And then there.
Yeah, I put in for the two CVs, it would include with the CV.
Well,
separate,
the
and that-
wells,
yeah.
he was most.
And then the other one was conceptual.
And one next day. So they were all making money to hang out together. That's all right now. I said that thing.
Yeah, I've got several on the company. Yes, and then Alicia Thacker, she's retired.
So, right, that.
But Jim.
Yeah.
You know, when. They were hanging out with those guys, so I know. They should have told me.
What would that look like? Just like a reminder. Just a reminder.
Since they retired, I don't see how he fired Connie.
Hello.
Good motorcycle.
No, it's on film. Very better. That's playing.
Will do.
Did my flip? Yes. I fixed it. I can buy two presents. But we got this building in five. I don't remember. Some hey, he got. But just a little bit like around. One whole bar. Him two. Sorry, I say. Yeah.
What's going on there? Sit down. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. No. This.
I'm pretty sure when
I'm pretty sure like.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Jennifer Brown.
I looked over here.
And they, so. Church out there.
Both of them are for like, can't function.
Let's talk about.
Yeah, we have a case. Yeah, knowledge required, which like.
Yeah, no,
Actually,
every time.
you think they're throwing it. Right.
Dan, do you have any questions?
I don't know how to ask any question. Yeah, it's challenging to. We're going to that background. And try to figure out like how does to you and the paper.
Channel all the classes where we talk about basic stuff. Try to put that in the presentation. Yeah. When you have so many different. I worked at City of Delaware.
The few times that I've done like a podcast, job internship, whatever you call them, both of them are speaking different communication. And that's the only way that I can really here. I think you want to, pretty much. This is powerful and yes, both at the same time for that reason. Oh, yeah. You can't even imagine like a project that could be, see, have like wizard.
Yeah, the best part is like, all these new tone.
Like, kind of, like, 5 townships, be
And
treated.
he wants that, those
We had all of our layers. And we populated all the roads. It's like we had a GIS. Walk, right?
Seems like what they do.
They
can all hear it.
all about stuff. It was kind of did all this.
No.
Yeah.
It's like, I see it clearly.
Yeah.
Black, black, you know. Something that's like, then they would have. That's wow.
Especially with all the, captioning, like, yeah. Maybe they're thinking of
He came for us, we chose the year. Remember that?
Woof.
Oh, Jack. Hey, yeah, I need to. I think I'm ready to go. I think I need to. I have that. Get that to me tomorrow. We haven't done it Friday.
Sign it, so you want it emailed or you want it,
Email's fine. Just want to give it, yeah. The limitations got created, right?
Jack attack on the trend.
Yeah.
Oh.
I will get
Yeah, no problem. Send it to me tomorrow and I'll make sure to get it right. And I'm ready to come to it.
Love getting the counts.
That works. Is yours just the first one?
Yeah. And then.
But- Yeah.
I was trying to watch how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting it motivation to.
Get all the stuff.
Even then, I'm like, you know what, it's become like, now that that's like what's got to say. It's like, oh, yeah. Even like, I mean, before I put that long break with COVID, it was, yeah.
I'm never gonna low play.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe check out any of the other ones. There's better. That one always is like a lot of that shadow.
Yeah, no, try to mix it.
See that.
It's I mean, not both years.
So really, I don't find the buddy is trying to qualify for policy and but makes me say. Yeah. But yeah, I can't do it. If you're gonna send it, that's. Like.
Okay, I would like to call January 9th, 2025. Government Commission meeting to order with the pledge of allegiance to our next flag. Pledge of allegiance to the flag. And to the republic, which stands one nation under God, liberty and strong. Okay, we have got a big agenda tonight, so let's get to it. Case number 1, Z24-002, 5432 North Hamilton Road.
Thank you. The 1.55 acre site consists of one undeveloped parcel in the CPD Commercial Plan Development District. Applicant requests the AR2 apartment residential district to allow a multi-unit residential development. To the north is a single-unit dwelling in Plain Township. To the east is a single-unit dwelling in the, oh, and I apologize, in your supplemental packets, you'll find 6 letters of opposition. To the south is a commercial development in the CBD Commercial Plan Development District. To the west is a bank and gas station in the CBD Commercial Plan Development District. Concurrent CB 24-130 has been filed to vary building height, perimeter yard, required parking, parking lot shade trees, side and rear yard requirements, frontage requirements, and commits to a site plan. That request will be heard by City Council and will not be considered at this Development Commission meeting. The site is located within the planning area of the Northland Plan Volume 2, which recommends preserve district land uses at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the Northland Community Council, whose recommendation is for disapproval. The Columbus Multimodal Thoroughfare Plan identifies this portion of North Hamilton Road as a suburban commuter corridor requiring 120 feet of right-of-way. The requested AR2 apartment residential district will allow a multi-unit residential development that is consistent with this recommendation and of a comparable intensity to residential uses to the east. The proposal is consistent with the Northland Plan Volume 2's land recommendation of preserve district, which recommends continuing the residential development pattern to the east on the east side of Hamilton Road. At the time the staff report was finalized, the traffic access study was still under review. Additional commitments or access revisions may be necessary based on the results of the approved traffic access study. Upon completion of the comment above, City Department's recommendation can be for full approval, and City Department's recommendation is for conditional approval.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions? Dan, where are we standing on the traffic study?
The traffic study, as mentioned last month, we had reviewed an initial submittal that was showing that a traffic signal that anticipated volumes would not meet a warrant for a traffic signal. And so we had provided some comments, just to, since the previous development proposal did show a traffic signal before we made a final determination, not put one in to make sure our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed. The applicant did submit a revised study this week. And so that is in our queue to review that resubmittal.
Okay, that's something we can act on before another month goes by, so.
That would be the intent.
Okay, Chris?
Planning continues to be in support.
Okay. The applicant is here. Is anyone here that wants to speak on case number 1? One gentleman here. Is that it? Just one? Okay. Laura, do you want to add anything to staff's report?
Just briefly, thank you. Good evening. I appreciate your time. Laura Comack here on behalf of Homeport. For the 2 folks who were not here last month, this is step 2 of the 2-step process, how the city processes affordable housing cases. So this time last year, the council variance was approved for largely the plan you see, although the plan itself has been reworked in terms of density and same use. It was approved by council last year. We submitted that plan and we received funding, an award of funding from OFA in June of last year, and then put this packet together to come back for this step 2, where the city requires us to reconcile the zoning in a formal rezoning. So I wanted to let you know that. The second thing that is of note from the staff report is we have a recommendation of the Northland of not recommended. It's based on density only. The report from Northland had an asterisk at the bottom that indicated that we had done literally everything else that we were asked to do. Originally, the suggestion to go up to 4 stories was made by folks in the Northland community for the specific purpose of getting more parking spaces, which we did. The council variance that was passed by council last year had 60 spaces. Because we reduced the footprint size and went up, we were able to make an increase of that of 20%, which was an additional 12 spaces. So just to bring everybody up to speed on some of the information that we put forth last month. So the issue where we left off last month was specifically in regard to, and Maria, I'd be happy to talk more about density. That was just the last part that we left off last month.
Yeah, no, I'll let you speak and then I can ask.
Absolutely. The 2 points really were Maria's question about density and then the sidewalk. So I have provided to you a memorandum with some photos and an update, not an updated site plan, but one that we marked very specifically to show the sidewalk that exists there right now and the sidewalk system that we will be tapping into so that the folks that want to use the COTA bus that's just down the street from us, that they have a designated and fully accessible route. After last month, and some of the confusion, which I think was my part, I missed a question or I misunderstood a question last month. Aaron and Nick walked it and took the photos that you are seeing on the screen there to confirm that we had, and it's actually a new sidewalk. Most of it's pretty new. So it is new, it is accessible, and it goes directly down to where the COTA bus is located. So I wanted to make sure that we corrected the record and that you had enough information to make a decision based on that. In terms of, the other density questions, I'm happy to answer any questions. We try to focus on appropriate land uses. And in terms of, the 2 cases on the agenda last month were a couple blocks down from us, also multifamily. So I don't think the use was an issue. We're struggling with the density, and it's, as I mentioned to you last month, the density, I see it a little bit as a policy issue, not necessarily a question of what I know this board does is appropriate land use. And the reason I say that is the particular purpose that this project serves is a core component of workforce and affordable housing. This project and the price points that we meet would allow a teacher, for example, to live in the same area where they teach, or firemen, or sheriffs based on the AMI. We are asking for a little bit more density on this project and we know it, but the main goal is to put the affordable housing in a market area instead of constantly putting them, which we do because we advance housing, but this isn't an old manufacturing that we're reconverting. This is a market rate corridor where the people who work at the shops can actually afford to live near where they work. And so that's why I suggest to you maybe that the idea of the policy, that's a policy decision where that's probably council's going to say that's the line. But otherwise, as apartments, we think it fits.
Okay, I'm
Thank
gonna let
you.
our speaker speak. And we'll be back with the question.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Step up to the microphone, give us your name, and you've got 3 minutes to state your case. We're thank you. Well, case good.
Hello, my name is Daniel Stubner. I live in a single-family home directly east of the proposed development. My only issue with this is I went through and this seems like it's purely a spot zoning issue. In this case, I tried to determine, well, for a low-income housing development like this, is there value to the people moving in? Is there value to the community? Every study I could find across the country says, yes, there's value in already lower income areas rather than affluent active communities because they bring in residents who are working. This is a more affluent, and as testified last time, it's up and coming. So there's no value to it other than opinion saying, oh, it'd be good. Is that the point of the board? If someone asks, you do it? And that, because that's all I could find. I couldn't find a value. I'm not going to say it's bad. I appreciate the idea of the low income housing. Just there is no value to the community. The community has suggested we don't want this. That's why you had the recommendation of no. So I would love to hear what's the value to the community other than an opinion that it'll help an already growing area, because that's silly. It's already growing. You don't need this. that's where I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you.
Comments. We're gonna see a lot more of this as 2025 rolls out. Our role here on this commission is to weigh the pros and the cons of what is proposed and make a vote based on, is it appropriate or is it not appropriate? We don't get into what color the railings are or what style of window curtains you have. We talk about appropriateness. As case was brought a month ago, there were just fuzzy edges. Looks like reasonable use and appropriate use. They're going down from a commercial zoning to the residential zoning. This could be a store or a fast food, commercial establishment back in off the main road. I like the balance of it, and they have proved that the sidewalks connect. That they were vague about where someone could walk to get to a bus. And this is just the beginning. We're going to see a lot of in this year. I think they've done a good job of that. I'd ask anyone on the commission to put a comment.
Can I?
Yes, please.
I just want to get back to the other thing. So the understanding the 4 stories was a suggestion from North.
Yes,
Because that was driving around this area, it's a mile before you get to another 4-story.
that's right.
Everything else is predominantly 2. And that's where, and for me as planner, I'm kind of like, well, screw the parking, go ahead and you know, keep it. I'm okay with the less parking. That's my
Yeah.
professional, personal slant. But I do still have an issue with the 4 stories when you have to go a mile before you get into anything else that has, I don't agree that it is consistent with what is to the east, because what's within the east.
Yeah. You see the exact trade-off. That's exactly where we were. Parking was the #1 concern that was expressed to us. And because, Alyssa, would you put up just the zoomed up aerial there? Oh, thanks, Tim. Because of that long, it is kind of long, the lot that's between us and the single family neighborhood, that's about 107 feet wide. That was the counterbalance. The exact issue was they said, we need more parking. Why don't you go up? And then you generate more places to park. That was the #1 concern expressed to us the first time around. And so now it's just the issue of, I'd say just the issue, but it is the density. And so, but otherwise we had answered all the different questions that had been posed.
Well, and I think one for that green strip, that 107-foot green strip, there might be different thoughts.
Oh, it would be weird, yes.
In the city, we're just seeing the beginning. Go down Lane Avenue, and right there where it used to be single-story Cape Cods, along Lane Avenue now, there's 6, 7-story motel, hotel, condo projects. And you see that all over town. The city is pushing that so they don't waste land by getting less tax base than they could have. But it has to work. And we have been together on this board for 30 years, trying to make sure that there's a flow and a relative connectivity among the different players. But we are going to see things go a little higher. 4 stories is interesting because the Ohio building code, the OECD code, favors 4-story buildings. It starts to get complicated after you go above 4. It stays relatively inexpensive and direct stay. That's the way the code's written. There's nothing designable about it. It's just code.
Yeah.
So I think we know the values here. We know the work we've done. I think we've demonstrated a willingness to create absolute secure connectivity so these people aren't just stranded in the area. And I think you're, so that's my comments.
One question, and I apologize if you've answered this previously. Could you summarize briefly what screening is in between this and single family on the east?
Yes,
Sure, yeah.
there's a couple things. Oh, let me turn this on for you.
Privacy fence covered in strip.
That's correct.
That's right.
Couple things, yeah. So on our property is the 100% opaque fence, actually all the way around on the three sides. So we aren't encroaching in any way on that. It's not a vacant lot, actually. It's a really long one with a house at the bottom that enters off of Thompson Road. So and then that's the distance.
Okay, so it's just a fence, and there's a separate privately owned parcel to the east of it.
Correct,
Got it.
Yeah.
But there's no guarantee on that, I mean, it's privately.
correct.
Dave Paul, you just walked in. Do you have any comments on this case?
Very briefly, if I could.
That's it. Hi. Actually, I'm glad you're here because you can explain how we talked about this last time.
Okay. Yes. My name is Dave Paul. I'm co-chair of the Northland Community Council Development Committee, NCC. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I'm sorry for my tardiness today. Let me say at the outset, and first of all, I know you heard, I think, from my co-chair, Bill Logan, at your last meeting to discuss this application. I don't have a lot to add, actually. But I think Bill hopefully conveyed, we do support Homeport. They've done good things in the Northland community generally and the northeast area of Columbus and throughout central Ohio. And we've worked well with Aaron and others at Homeport in the past. They've also significantly invested in the Northland area. They have other properties that we have supported to address affordable housing, special needs, senior housing, and other things. So we do understand their mission and the product, the kinds of housing that they're providing the community generally. However, I think I can safely say that we continue to recommend disapproval of this application. We heard from many folks in our October meeting where we discussed this application in the community surrounding the site. And I think the committee was resolved, and in fact, it was unanimous recommendation that we felt this application was too dense at 38.7 units per acre for its particular location and what surrounds it, particularly what exists to the east without any kind of transition other than this undeveloped parcel, which exists now, but may or may not be left undeveloped in the future. And parking was a concern, as we've talked about. We understand the limitation in terms of this site. And there were folks who just felt this was far too much on that small parcel. It was very dense in terms of the structure and limited parking. The application we heard in October was an improvement from a previous discussion we'd had where there was even less parking provided. We did recognize that there was improvement there, but we still felt that parking was likely to be a problem. And we did not feel this was compatible with use, particularly to the east. The height is of concern in this area. And so I think I can safely say that NCC continues to stand in disapproval of this application. We understand your limitations and the various other motivations that the city is entertaining to try to address affordable housing. We just don't think this is the best application to do it. So.
It's not for lack of trying.
It's not for lack of trying.
That's right.
We appreciate Laura and we work well with her as well. So thank you for your attention and your time. Any questions for me?
I think we've heard everything we need to hear. Anybody else need to hear?
Thank you.
Okay,
thank
I
you.
need a motion to call the roll. And it is now time to call.
You can vote on this.
I didn't hear a full testimony.
It's up to you. To the matter. It's your call.
Did you?
I was here last time, so you go ahead.
Denise T. Shanklin,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
I'm supportive, but I am gonna vote no, and just to pull eyes onto the community.
Johnny Worson,
I'm going to vote yes, and mainly because we saw that last month and the applicant has addressed the pedestrian access sufficiently. And with that,
I'm also voting yes, based on what John just said, and also I know there's the argument about the transition in terms of the four story and the single family home. But if you see the progression on James Hamilton Road, I think that's what it is. The evidence is there that whatever structure is gonna be built along that stretch of drive, it's gonna have a story. So based on that, I'm saying, what's the best?
David Carey
Yes.
and Chair Patrick.
and I also will vote yes. Approved, you created a use here that is 4 stories, but it's a very small deck. Street, way less than the for that, just as a couple of years. This is one of those cases.
Yeah.
You are approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. I can. Okay, case number 2. C 24-053-2897 Johnstown Road.
Please see your supplemental packet for an updated site plan dated January 9th, 2025. The 2.3 acre site consists of one parcel with warehouse and office facilities in the all rural district. The requested LM limited manufacturing district will allow for the less objective manufacturing uses. Elected this site is a construction materials facility in Tennessee neighborhood commercial district in Western Township. East of the site is the construction materials facility like LI limited industrial business in the township. East of the site is a manufacturing facility in the M manufacturing district. West of the site is an office building in the manufacturing district. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Port Columbus Joint Economic Development Strategy, which recommends mixed-use land uses at this location. The site is not located within the boundaries of the area commission and the group. The limitation text includes use restrictions and the site in accordance to the submitted site plan. The requested LM limited manufacturing district will allow the site to be developed with less objectionable manufacturing uses. The text includes appropriate use restrictions as well as a commitment to develop the site in accordance with the submitted site plan. Also is consistent with the land use recommendations of the Port Columbus development strategy, and will allow existing non-conforming uses. There is a pending right-of-way dedication exception request from the Department of Public Service. Once any resulting comments are resolved to the satisfaction of the Department of Public Service, staff recommendation will be for approval, staff's current recommendation for conditional.
Okay, any questions or comments? Dan, traffic.
With this rezoning application, there is a city code requirement for right-of-way dedication 50 feet from center line along the site frontage. As you can see from the committed site plan, that would overlap with parking spaces that are shown between buildings and Johnstown Road. And submitted for an exception to that requirement, and so that exception request is in progress. The determination will be made before this application goes to the council.
All right, and that's the only issue with traffic. Okay. And Chris?
No further comments.
Okay, the applicant's here. Is anyone here to speak regarding case number 2? No here to speak. You have you don't have an area commission to deal with, but you have a staff conditional approval based on traffic.
Yeah, David Hodge, attorney for the applicant. If you saw the slides that staff went through, you saw the aerial photograph and then you see the site plan. This is a site that's long been developed. We relatively recently annexed it into the city, and it was an interesting situation. My client called me and said, "Stop that annexation." And I said, "Too late." And so we're in the city and trying to, when land is zoned into the city, it comes into an R designation. So we are conforming the development on the property to the existing development that's on the property. Understand that we have a couple of Ts to cross and Is to dot with Mr. Moorhead and his team. Mr. Moorhead brought something to our attention today regarding a sign that hopefully helps my argument a little bit. Time will only tell, but we will conclude that exercise with traffic management and, great staff report, no area commission. Nobody here to speak in opposition. I'll stop talking and respectfully request we get sent to council.
You're not directly right on the center line like that.
We're near it and our ownership is to the center line, so we are going to dedicate some right of way, just hopefully not everything that the city asks for on the thoroughfare plan.
Okay, any comments or questions? Need a motion to take a vote? Oh, we have the updated site plan. What's the date?
January 9th, 2025.
January, motion to approve January 9th, 2025, revised site. All those in favor?
Aye.
Now motion to move. So moved. Okay, please call roll.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
John Morrison.
Yeah.
Ken Mookwe,
Yes.
David Carey,
Yes.
Denise P. Shanklin,
Yeah.
Sheriff Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you are approved.
Thank you all.
Okay, case number 3, C24-036, 1175 Galloway Road.
Right. The 22.3 acre site consists of one undeveloped parcel in the R rural district. The applicant requests the AR12 apartment residential district to allow for multi-unit residential development. The site is also subject to the Hell Branch planning overlay. North of the site are single unit dwellings in the LR2 limited residential district. South of the site is an undeveloped parcel in the R rural district. East of the site are single unit dwellings in the SR suburban residential district. And west of the site is undeveloped land in the R rural district in Prairie Township. Concurrent council variance CV 24-135 demonstrates a townhouse development containing up to 115 dwelling units and includes a variance to allow townhomes fronting on a private street. That request will be heard by City Council and will not be considered at this Development Commission meeting. Site is within the planning boundaries of the Big Darby Accord Watershed Master Plan, which recommends residential suburban high density 3 to 5 dwelling units per acre and Tier 1 environmental conservation zone land uses at this location. Site is located within the boundaries of the Westland Area Commission, whose recommendation had not yet been received when this report was finalized. But as you will see in your supplemental packets, we have since received the recommendation form from the Westland Area Commission, and that recommendation was for approval. I will also mention you should also find in your supplemental packets one letter of opposition. Site is also subject to review by the Big Darby Accord Advisory Panel, whose recommendation is for approval with 12 conditions as outlined in their record of action, that which should be found in the staff report. The site is subject to the Big Darby Revenue Program. The developer contribution requirements are still being finalized. Funds from this program are utilized primarily for Big Darby Accord purposes, for example, stream restoration and parkland acquisition. The proposed AR12 apartment residential district will allow multi-unit residential development on the site. While the proposed density is higher than the recommended land use outlined in the Big Darby Accord Watershed Master Plan, the higher density could be mitigated by the 12 conditions as outlined in the Big Darby Accord Advisory Panel's recommendation of approval, which include but are not limited to 50% open space, increased buffering around wetlands, street trees, and items pertaining to building design. The site is subject to the Big Darby Revenue Program as previously mentioned, and those developer contribution requirements will be finalized before completing final site compliance. Therefore, city staff's recommendation is that of approval.
Okay, any questions? Staff, Dan, traffic?
Traffic impact study has been approved for this application. No traffic requirements were necessary.
All right, Chris?
As noted, the applicant went to the Big Darby Accord panel, received the vote of approval with the conditions, and I'll let the applicant speak to that.
Okay, is anyone here to speak regarding case number 3? One person. All right. Anyone else? One person. Okay. Would you like to add to staff presentation?
I would like to just make a brief comment. This is Rebecca Mott with the Plank Law Firm representing Miranda Homes. Just to note, because this area has wetlands and in the west side of the property primarily is land that we'd like to preserve, we are complying with the master plan for Big Darby Accord, where we have conservation areas. Over 54% of our property will be open space, and the eastern half will be where it's developed. So we definitely paid attention to the natural features of the property, want to preserve that as much as possible. And in fact, we increased that preservation area by also not impacting this existing wetland on the southeastern boundary of the property. So this is 115 townhome units, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, let's see what our speaker has to say and stand by. Sure.
My information was added to the, I guess, your packet today. So I'm kind of trying to go over it. I live in the Great Oaks. Is it on?
Yes.
Okay. My name, Victoria Landrum.
Correct.
Victoria Landrum. Okay, 6333 Greenhaven Avenue, Galloway, Ohio, 43119.
Okay.
Okay, I've lived in Great Oaks development when it started in 2008. I've seen a lot of property growing. My issue is that developing townhomes, if you go down Galloway now, you see that there is a lot of townhomes being built, and traffic is horrible. There's 2-lane highways. My other concern is with the apartments complex brought in our neighborhood is crime, traffic. And my other concern is that they're opening up Nuttall, where we are a housing community, and you're opening it up into apartment community. I don't understand why they're having that. And like, I'm against of having more homes when they could use that property for a recreation center, what the city said they were going to do for us. And also there's a park, it's not on that thing, but there's a park where there's walking, there's fields that kids play soccer at, and where the other side of that site where there's a park there. So, but I'm just saying that the traffic, the crime, and I don't understand why they want to open up Nuttall into another community when they said they're another homeowners association and we're not the same. So those are my questions.
Get the applicant back to the microphone.
Thank you. Just 3 comments. We did do a traffic impact study and submitted that to the city of Columbus. There were no traffic infrastructure improvements that are required of this development or warranted by this development to the public roads. In addition, we are connecting to that Prairie Township Park to the south through a multi-purpose path, both along our frontage and in the interior of our site. So there will be connectivity for our residents and guests to, of course, utilize that current park. In addition, we are not an apartment complex. We are townhomes that are going to be sold fee simple conveyances with an HOA, so a homeowners association, to maintain the private streets, stormwater, and all the private infrastructure. And I think those were the 3 main points that were raised, but I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
I think you've been very clear. I'd like to ask, does anybody know why the neighborhood commission has not, the Westland area is not able to get on this schedule? Oh, they don't. The documents that we have.
That's what the supplement.
Yeah.
And it's just about the 12 points, the conditions.
Yes.
Big Derby Authority Advisory Council. I wondered if you could respond to whether those are met.
Okay, well, the first one relates to wetland buffers. We are preserving the small 0.19 acre wetland to the southeast. So that was a change we made by working with Big Darby. There will be a permeable grassy footpath around the stormwater pond on site. It's not noted on the site plan, but we have committed to that. Number 3, the tax incremental financing, we're dealing with that. There will be, I guess, not a porch, but there will be an overhang or an awning over the front doors of these building prototypes, but we don't have necessarily a front porch for our prototype. So that was just an encouraged factor. It wasn't a condition. We are providing 54% open space, but we probably can't provide 50% natural open space where our open space is actually being determined by the City of Columbus guidelines for open space, which are different than the Big Darby Accords natural open space designations. But we're going to meet that to the greatest extent feasible. We are going to try to use permeable walkways, driveways. We are going to use color variations on the in windows on garages as much as feasible. We are going to have a diversity of native trees that are going to be planted. And as much as we can, we're going to put some street trees along the private roads. Some of our homes don't have enough grassy area between driveways and the next unit lot to put a tree, but we will try to meet the street trees requirement that's in here. We do have the wetland shelves that are proposed around the wetlands, and again, our open space to the north, we did increase that area. You can see a dimension line of 37.8. 37 feet, 0.8 inches. We increased that from 20 to just provide a bigger buffer between us and the single family to the north. So we think that helps centralize and organize the open space. So thank you.
Okay, and just for the record, you were approved by the Darby Accords, 7-0 unanimous. Okay, we do not need a motion to add anything to this application, so I need a motion to go to the vote. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, please call the roll.
Johnny Griffin?
Yeah.
Dan McQuaid?
Yes.
David Carey?
Yes.
Denise T. Shanklin?
Yeah.
Marie Conroy?
Yes.
Chair Fitzpatrick?
Yes, you're approved.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's move along to case number 4, Z24-050, 106 West Castle Road.
All right, the site consists of 6 parcels, one of which is developed with an eating and drinking establishment, with the remaining parcels being undeveloped. All 6 parcels are zoned in the SR Suburban Residential District. The applicant requests the AR1 Apartment Residential District to allow for multi-unit residential development uses. North and east of the site are single-unit dwellings in the SR Suburban Residential District. South of the site are single-unit dwellings in the R3 Residential District. West of the site is an undeveloped parcel in the EQ Excavation and Quarry District. Concurrent council variance CV 24-122 has been filed demonstrating an apartment complex with up to 150 units and includes variances to reduce required parking and perimeter yard. That request will be heard by City Council and will not be considered at this Development Commission meeting. Site is within the planning boundaries of the Scioto Southland Area Plan, which recommends single-family 4 to 6 dwelling units per acre land use at this location. The plan includes early adoption of the Columbus Citywide Planning Policies C2P2 design guidelines. Site is located within the boundaries of the FAR South Columbus Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. The requested AR1 Apartment Residential District will allow multi-unit residential development at this location. While the Scioto Southland Plan recommends single family at this location, staff recognize the site's specific factors, such as the mix of existing residential and institutional uses on West Castle Road, the site's location at the terminus of West Castle Road, and the site's proximity to the South High Street corridor, all as potential mitigating factors for supporting higher density. Department of Public Service notes that West Castle Road will need to be widened to accommodate two-way traffic in conjunction with this proposed development. Commitments reflecting this requirement will need to be incorporated into the ordinance for both Z24-050 and CB 24-122 before proceeding to City Council. Therefore, City Department's recommendation is that of approval.
Okay, thank you. You have any questions? And traffic issues?
Traffic access study has been approved for this application, and the applicant has agreed to implement the necessary transportation infrastructure.
Great. Yes.
No further comments from planning.
Okay, is anyone here to speak tonight regarding case number 4? No speakers.
David Hodge, attorney for the applicant. I'm happy to answer questions.
I don't think there's anybody looking for the question. Need a motion to move forward with the so moved. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Please call the roll.
Kim McQueen,
Yes.
David Carey,
Yes.
Janice Key Shanklin,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
John Ingwerson,
Yeah.
Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, we're approved.
Thank you all.
Okay, case number 5, Z24-054, 2280 October Ridge Road.
All right. The 1.1 acre site consists of one undeveloped parcel in the R1 residential district. The applicant requests the ARLD apartment residential district to allow for multi-unit residential development with a maximum density of 17.4 dwelling units per acre. North of the site is an auto parts store in the CAC Community Activity Center district. South of the site is an undeveloped parcel in the ARLD apartment residential district. East of the site is an undeveloped parcel in the C4 commercial district. West of the site is an automotive dealership in the CAC Community Activity Center district. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Southwest Area Plan, which recommends medium-low density residential land uses at this location. The site is also subject to early adoption of Columbus Citywide Planning Policies C2P2 design guidelines. The site is located within the boundaries of the Southwest Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. Traffic does note that with proposed development of this site, sidewalk connections to adjacent properties will need to be included. Requested ARLD apartment residential district will allow a multi-unit residential development that is compatible with the density and development standards of adjacent residential developments and is consistent with the Southwest Area Plan's land use recommendation of medium-low density residential. Staff notes the neighboring parcel to the south is existing ARLD apartment residential district and will be incorporated with this property as part of an overall development. Therefore, city staff's recommendation is that of approval.
Okay. Dan?
Nothing to add to the staff report.
Chris?
No further comments.
Okay, great. Is anyone here to speak regarding case number 5, October Ridge Road? Owen back there, give us your name for the record.
Yes, Kareem Amer.
Okay. Doug, you got approval of both ends. Ready to go to a vote?
Sure, yes.
Okay, so, number 7. All those in favor? Okay, please call the roll.
David Carey,
Yes.
Janice Key Shanklin,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
John Ingwerson,
Yeah.
Kim McQueen,
Yes.
Chair Fitzpatrick.
It could be a new record. Speed.
Thank you all.
Okay, case number 6, D24-049 1378 Mount Vernon Avenue.
The 8.09 acre site consists of one undeveloped parcel in the R3 residential district. The applicant requests the R4 residential district to allow residential development between 1 and 4 dwelling units at this location. To the north and east of the site are single unit dwellings in the R3 residential district. To the south and west are undeveloped parcels in the R3 residential district. The sites within the planning boundaries of the near east area plan, which does not include a specific land use recommendation at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the Near East Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. Concurrent council variance CV 24-117 has been filed. It demonstrates a 3-unit dwelling and includes variances for lot area, lot width, side yards, and a reduction in the number of required parking spaces from 6 to 3. That request will be heard by city council and will not be considered at this development commission meeting. The requested R4 residential district will allow up to a 4-unit dwelling at this location. While the Near East Area Plan does not include specific land use recommendation for this site, staff note that the site plan and building elevations included with concurrent council variance CV 24-117 are consistent with the plan's design guidelines. Proposed residential uses are compatible with other uses in the area and will not add incompatible use to the neighborhood. Therefore, city department's recommendations for approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Possibly stupid question. If it's currently R3 and the proposed use is a 3-unit dwelling, does the R3 designation not allow for that?
The R3 district only allows for 1 single unit dwelling.
So there's no lesser designation, less intense than R4 that would allow for a 3-unit dwelling?
Correct.
Thank you.
That looks like it's working and go, doesn't it? Okay. Dan, traffic?
No traffic issues.
Chris?
No further comments on plan.
Okay, is anyone here to speak regarding case number 6, Mount Vernon Avenue? No, sir. You are good to go. I think, give us your name for the record.
Paul Civitello, general contractor.
Okay. I've been standing in the way of voting. Motion to vote. So moved. Second. All those in favor of taking this to a vote? Aye. Aye. Okay, please call roll.
Denise Shanklin,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
John Ingworth,
Yes.
Cam McQuaid,
Yes.
David Carey,
Yes.
Jeffrey Patrick.
Yes, you are approved, 6-0.
Thank you.
We like it. I'm trying to help as best I can.
Case number 7, D 24-056, 3355.
The 8.55 acre site consists of 1 undeveloped parcel in the LC4 limited commercial district. The applicant requests the AR1 apartment residential district to allow for multi-unit residential development. To the north of the site is a religious facility in the LI limited institutional district. To the west is a retail use in the LC4 limited commercial district, a contracting company in the LM2 limited manufacturing district, and multi-unit residential development in the ARLD apartment residential district. To the east is an auto repair use in the LC4 limited commercial district. To the south is multi-unit residential development in the ARLD apartment residential district. Site is not within the boundary of an adopted area plan, therefore there is no land use recommendation at this location. However, the site is subject to early adoption of Columbus citywide planning policies. Site is located within the boundaries of the Mid-East Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. The current council variance CV 24-138 has been filed requesting to reduce the required landscaping and screening, building setback, perimeter yard, and number of parking spaces. That request will be heard by city council and will not be considered at this development commission meeting. The Columbus multimodal thoroughfare plan identifies this portion of Refugee Road as a suburban commuter corridor requiring 160 feet right away. City Department's recommendation. The requested AR1 apartment residential district will allow multi-unit residential development of up to 36.2 dwelling units per acre. There is no adopted land use plan for this location. However, staff finds the submitted site plan and landscape plan to be consistent with Columbus citywide planning policies, design guidelines, and the proposal will further the city's objective of creating. At the time staff written, the traffic impact study was still under review. Additional commitments or revisions may be necessary based on the results of the approved traffic impact study. Division of Traffic Management has additional outstanding comments related to pedestrian connectivity and emergency access. Upon resolution of those comments, City Department's recommendation will be for full approval. City Department's current recommendation is for conditional approval.
Okay, questions? Buddy? Traffic.
Traffic impact study is in progress in conjunction with this application. Additional commitments or access revisions may be needed based on results of the approved traffic study. The outstanding comments mentioned in the staff report, those really pertain to the concurrent council variance, not to the rezoning application, unless it would come to the site.
Have you, of course, do realize that you have a traffic hiccup?
Got my wallet right here. Got my wallet right here. Big wallet.
Chris?
No further comments from planning.
Okay, is anyone here to speak regarding case number 7? See anybody jumping in the chairs? Want to get your name for the record and add anything you need to add?
Name is Jack Reynolds. I'm an attorney with Smith and Hale, 37 West Broad Street, Columbus, Ohio.
Will Carl with Moody Nolan, project architect.
Yeah, just, we have resubmitted the traffic study as of yesterday. And there is a request to buy some additional right of way that is pending with the city. And that there is a request and it's being looked at by staff on the additional construction of a road there at Schwartz. So we'll have all of that resolved before we get to council. So we understand that there are issues involved and they are currently being resolved before we go to council. So we would request your support for our rezoning request to the AR1. The property was zoned LC4 back in 1987 for a shopping center, and obviously it's never developed. So CMHA saw this as an opportunity and bought the property, and we'd like to add 220 additional units to the south side. And we can answer any other questions.
Commissions that give you
Approval.
Yes votes.
Yes.
That's what. Okay, anybody have any questions or comments? You have a motion to take a vote on this case. So, all those in favor? Please call the roll.
Maria Conroy.
Yes.
Johnny Brisson. Yeah. Caleb Quinn.
Yes.
David Carey.
Yes.
Denise K. Shanklin.
Yes.
Jared Fitzpatrick.
Yes, please call the roll.
I got you.
Good.
We're good. Thank you all. Thank you. Poke him, John.
Okay, case number 8. D24-055, 540 Annapolis Place.
The 5.83 acre site consists of one undeveloped parcel in the M manufacturing district. The applicant requests the LARLD Limited Apartment Residential District for the development of a multi-unit residential development. To the north is right-of-way for Leonard Avenue and I-670. To the south are single-unit dwellings in the R3 residential district and a mix of retail, office, and warehouse uses in the M2 manufacturing district. To the west are single-unit dwellings and undeveloped land in both R3 residential district and the M manufacturing district respectively. Concurrent council variance CV 24-130 has been filed to reduce the perimeter yard. That request will be heard by city council, will not be considered at this development commission meeting. The site is located within the planning area of the Near East Area Plan, which recommends office/light industrial/mixed uses, land uses at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the Near East Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. The limitation text includes restrictions, a maximum of 84 dwelling units, and includes a commitment to develop the site in accordance with the submitted site plan and building elevations. The requested LARLD Limited Apartment Residential District will allow the site to be developed with an 84-unit apartment complex. The Near East Area Plan recommends the overall goal for incorporating new construction into the neighborhood is compatibility with quality design conforming to the existing building patterns and rhythm of the area. At the time the staff report was written, zoning still had outstanding comments regarding the limitation text and the structure of the limitation text, but upon resolution of those comments, city department's recommendation can be for approval, and city's recommendation is for conditional approval.
Okay. Got it. Dan, any traffic issues? Chris?
Planning's comments have been left to the staff report.
Okay, is anyone here to speak regarding application number 8? No one's here. Heard the conditional issues, yes.
Just one question, and that was on from the area commission about the strong encouragement to install crosswalk. I seem to recall issues with the crosswalks, private, public, I get confused. Possible lights in the right of way. Is that them? That, how does that work?
So with the developer's scope, they would be constructing a curb ramp. The intersection of Woodland and Maryland would be a public street intersection. So back East Lake would be a crosswalk by code. But Maryland Avenue and Woodland are both local streets. So our design memo for crosswalks would not consider them as candidates for pedestrian crossing enhancements. Due to that, and then also there's no, we don't see any, extenuating circumstances such as a school next door or another high pedestrian volume generator.
Okay.
You're good?
Yep.
Okay, Chris, this clause about the outstanding text issues that you want to speak to?
I believe they've been resolved. I have to personally abstain.
That was zoning comment. The limitation text, the structure, and kind of some of the comments in itself had not been resolved, and they're still working on that, but planning did not have any remaining issues.
Is the extent of those issues something that's going to run 2 weeks, or is it going to take?
It just is restructuring of the actual text itself to meet our format, and then also debating which council variances that they're requesting.
Just cleaning that up.
Yes,
Yeah,
just
I think
small.
the question really should be directed to the applicant and see when they can give us the materials done.
Bob Lamb, Connect Realty. Our attorney has already redrafted that material and I believe provided to the city, or will be this week providing it to the city so that we can get that addressed.
All right. If you wait too long, you won't get on the next agenda.
From what I recall, it was mostly formatting stuff. There wasn't any issues with substance, yeah.
Well, if so, always comes people practice, that's all.
Yes.
Okay, is anyone here to speak? I think I'm going to ask that. Anyone here? Is there anything you would like to add for the staff's presentation?
No, we appreciate the time tonight. Area Commission did support this. We worked with them closely on this process.
Okay, I think we need a motion to go to vote. Second. All those in favor? All right, please roll call one.
Donnie Wortham? Yes. Cam McQuaid?
Yes.
David Carey?
Yes.
Denise Lee Chamberlain?
Yes.
Marie Conroy?
Yes.
Chair Fitzpatrick?
Yes, you're approved.
Thank you
so much.
Okay, case number 9. D24-047, 1663 Dewey Ave.
Please use supplemental package for updated limitation text and site plan dated January 7th, 2025. Site consists of one undeveloped parcel in the R1 residential district and in manufacturing district. The requested LM limited manufacturing district will allow regional scale commercial and less objectionable uses, with the proposed use being storage of vehicles and landscape materials. To the north and west of the site are undeveloped parcels and a single unit dwelling in the R3 residential district. To the south is the Rumpke Recycling and Resource Center in the M Manufacturing District. To the east is undeveloped industrial land in the R1 Residential District and M Manufacturing District. The site is located within the planning boundaries of the North Central Plan, which recommends neighborhood commercial use services, land uses at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the North Central Area Commission, whose recommendation had not been received at the time the staff report was finalized. Limitation text includes use restrictions and supplemental development standards that address building height, setbacks, vehicular access, landscaping and screening, and includes commitment to develop the site in accordance with submitted site plan. The request is rezoning to the LM Limited Manufacturing District will allow all regional scale commercial and less objectionable uses with the site plan that reflects storage of vehicles and landscape materials. The limitation text establishes appropriate use restrictions and supplemental development standards and includes commitments to develop the site in accordance with the site plan. The proposal is inconsistent with the North Central Plan's recommendation for neighborhoods commercial services, land use for this location. Staff notes that a portion of the site is currently zoned in the M district and that the site is adjacent to a location recommended for light manufacturing. Therefore, city cross recommendation is for approval.
Okay.
We haven't heard anything from the area commission still.
They have a for February.
I think this month. I think we're seeing them this month.
Okay, any traffic comments?
No comments on this application. The site did have an engineering review this week and their access is being shifted slightly to the east. With the revised site plan that provides screening along the frontage, lightings and things like that.
Okay, is anyone here to speak regarding case number 9?
No comments at this time unless you have any questions.
A motion to, well, we need to have a motion to incorporate the updated text and the updated site plan, both dated January 7, 2025. So move. All those in favor? Now motion to vote. So move. All those in favor? And let's call the roll.
David Carey,
Yes.
Steve Shanklin,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
Johnny Person,
Yep.
Danny Woodward,
Yes.
Sheriff Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you're approved.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Okay, case number 10, Z24-061, 1895 Jetway over.
The 7.98 acre site consists of 2 undeveloped parcels in the LM Limited Manufacturing District, but part of the site is subject to the I-70 graphics control overlay. The applicant requests a new LM district at this location to update commitments regarding building materials and setbacks and buffering along the western property line. New exhibits, including a site plan and building elevations, have been submitted as well. North and east of the site are office warehouses in the LM Limited Manufacturing District. South of the site is undeveloped land in the LM Limited Manufacturing District. And west of the site are single unit dwellings in the FR Suburban Residential District. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Northeast Area Plan, which recommends office light industrial land uses at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the Northeast Area Commission, whose recommendation had not yet been received when this report is written. The limitation text includes use restrictions, limiting the site to C2 commercial uses and a limited number of less objectionable manufacturing uses, and establishes supplemental development standards addressing building size, building and parking setbacks, building height, parking arrangements, lot coverage, dumpster screening, tree preservation, and lighting. Additionally, the text includes commitments to develop the site in accordance with the submitted site plan and building elevations. The requested LM Limited Manufacturing District will allow limited commercial and less objectionable manufacturing uses consistent with the land use recommendation of the Northeast Area Plan. Additionally, the limitation text includes commitments to develop the site in accordance with the submitted building elevations and site plan. The site plan shows tree preservation and buffering along the western property line. The proposed uses and site plan are consistent with the development pattern along Jetway Boulevard and includes development standards that adequately buffer adjacent residential uses, and therefore city departments recommend approval.
Okay, well, we're working heck out of this, Northeast Area Commission. We're gonna have to start the next meeting at about 8 a.m. So we'll just have to wait on that. Any traffic issues then?
No traffic issues.
Sure.
No further comments from planning.
Okay, is anyone here tonight wishing to speak regarding case number 10 on Jetway Boulevard? Oh. Give us your name for the record. Add any comments you think necessary.
Dave Sal's, Pioneer Development.
Amir Patel, Pioneer Development.
All right, I think we do need a motion to update your text dated 1/11/25 and updated site plan dated January 3, 2020. All those in favor? So moved. Okay, please call the roll.
Denise P. Shanklin.
Yes.
Maria Tomler.
Yes.
John Ingerson.
Yes.
Dan McQuaid.
Yes.
David Carey.
Yes.
And Fair Fitzpatrick.
Okay, you are approved.
Thank you all.
That approval for you as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did get the wire and page here. Okay. That brings us to case number 11, 724-016, 5371 Buckland Road, 106 of you.
Your supplemental package will find an updated limitation/TBD text, updated site plans, and one letter of opposition. Updated texting plans were received this morning and have not yet been reviewed by city staff. The 106-acre site consists of 3 undeveloped parcels in the NG Neighborhood General and NE Neighborhood Edge District. The applicant requests the PUD 6 Planned Unit Development District to allow single unit residential development and the LARLD Limited Apartment Residential District to allow multi-unit residential development. North of the site is undeveloped land in the LR2 Limited Residential District, NG Neighborhood General District, and LARLD Limited Apartment Residential District. South and west of the site is US Route 33. Across US Route 33 are mixed residential uses and undeveloped land in Madison Township. East of the site is undeveloped land in the NC Neighborhood Center and R rural districts. The site is located within the boundaries of the Southeast Land Use Plan, which recommends low to medium density residential, mixed use, and private open space land uses at this location. The site is within the boundaries of the Greater Southeast Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. PUD text includes restrictions and supplemental development standards addressing building height, building setbacks, side yard, lot coverage, traffic access, street trees, building materials, and architectural elements, and lighting. The limitation text commits to use restrictions and supplemental development standards in addressing traffic access, private streets, pedestrian connectivity, landscaping, building design, and lighting. City Department's recommendation: the requested PUD 6 Planned Unit Development District will allow single unit residential development, and the requested LARLD Limited Apartment Residential District will allow multi-unit residential development. Southeast Land Use Plan recommends low density residential of 4 to 6 dwelling units per acre, low to medium density residential of 6 to 10 dwelling units per acre, and medium density residential of 10 to 16 dwelling units per acre, and private open space land uses at this location. Staff notes the plan states the higher densities can be supported if a high level of architectural and site design is provided. The following planning, zoning, and traffic comments remain outstanding. From planning, building elevations are requested in order to review for consistency with Columbus citywide planning policies design guidelines. Greater connectivity between the proposed development and the pending development to the south, is case number Z23-032 is requested. And edits to the proposed text specifically regarding garage design are requested for greater consistency with CPP design. Zoning edits to the PUD and allocating relevant text are required. Staff markup with requested edits will be provided to the applicant. A detailed PUD plan that addresses the requirements of code section 3345.07 is required. And from traffic, at the time the staff report was written, traffic impact study was still in progress. Additional comments, commitments, or revisions may be necessary based on the results of the approved traffic impact study. Revised text language regarding the location and construction of pedestrian connectivity is required. And classification on public versus private streets is needed. Additional commitments or revisions specifically regarding access to townhome units may be necessary based on this clarification. Upon resolution of the above comments, City Department's recommendation can be for full approval. At this time, City Department's recommendation is for conditional approval.
Just a dumb question. None of these things seem like really difficult. Change request here. Why hasn't it been done yet? This report coming out.
The report was published last week, and the question should be directed to the applicant.
Okay.
The applicant has made the requested changes to the text, Mr. Chairman. As far as building elevations, we do not have a builder in tow at this point for this area. This is still in the zoning process. We'd like to wait until it's zoned to market it to a builder. So we have committed to the C2P2. We've also addressed the garage comment that's noted in the staff report, and a revised text was, as noted, provided late yesterday evening. So we have worked to address those, yes.
And unfortunately, I have to repeat the clause about the open checkbook for traffic issues. If you don't agree with the traffic department, you come back and see us. If you do agree with them, you have your checkbook out.
Understood, Mr. Chair and full Development Commission. Thank you very much.
Okay. Dan, traffic, you know what we've heard?
Yeah, the traffic impact study has had a couple submissions. At this point, I think the biggest thing they're working on is that the county had requested some additional information to maybe allow one of the turn lanes to be shorter than what the traffic study is saying right now. There's a contribution that we've been discussing with the applicant for potential future improvements at the intersection of Gender Road and Winchester Pike, and that'll ultimately get incorporated to the final text.
That's good. And this is possible, this is gonna come together in the next month or what you're doing?
We'll need another submittal of the study, and so that'll need to get the county's review and concurrence. So whatever timeline that is, along with getting agreement on the contribution amount.
Do they need to sit down with the staff to work out these other text issues?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Does the applicant need to have a meeting with you to go and refine that list of?
We can meet or do it via email, but the text wouldn't be good.
Okay. Just something expediting that, so it's in the line here. Okay, let me ask, is there anyone here to speak tonight regarding case number 11?
Yes.
Chris, let's get to you.
So, planning is in support of the use and density as noted in the staff report. I think the final details, either in the text that were sent over yesterday or through negotiations prior to council, we're comfortable with.
You're gonna get there. Okay, sorry for skipping over. So I can make it private. Okay, you have no speakers on this case tonight. Case number 11, Bachman Road. Okay, we discussed some things you need to do in order to keep this thing moving. You good with that?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Questions or comments? Okay, I think we're ready to, we do need a motion to include the text, the revised text dated 1/8/25, and the revised site plan dated 1/3/25. So moved. All those in favor? Okay, it's a motion to vote. So moved. So, all those in favor? Vote.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
Johnny Wilson. Yes. Caleb Webb,
Yes.
David Carey,
Yes.
Keith Shanklin,
Yes.
Chair Fitzpatrick. Yes, you're approved.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And that brings us to case number 12. D 24-024, 4970 Lindora Drive there. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Take a seat there, David. Little heads up to the audience here. We're allowing you 3 speakers, 3 minutes each. Same in city council. We do everything the same way city council does. There's more than 3 speakers. Get your heads together. Select 3 spokespersons. Do not be redundant. Speak your mind. Don't say the same thing 3 times over. Use your time or directly. And so we proceed forward. Now, go to the report.
In your supplemental packet, you'll find 10 letters of opposition. I received an 11th letter of opposition, but it was too late to include in your supplemental. The 0.92 acre site consists of 1 undeveloped parcel in the C4 commercial district. The applicant requests the LAR1 limited apartment residential district to allow for 24 unit apartment. To the north and west of the site are single unit dwellings in the SR suburban residential district. To the east is parkland in the C4 commercial district and SR suburban residential district. To the south are commercial uses in the C4 commercial district and single unit dwellings in the SR suburban residential district. Site is within the planning boundaries of the southeast land use plan with recommended mixed use 1 or residential development of less than 24 units per acre at this location. Site is located within the boundaries of the Greater Southeast Area Commission, whose recommendation is for this approval. Limitation text includes standards for building height, a maximum of 24 apartment units, building setbacks, traffic access, landscaping and screening requirements, and a commitment to develop the site in general conformance with the submitted site plan. Concurrent council variance CV 24-075 has been filed to reduce the required landscaping and screening, parking setback, and number of parking spaces. That request will be heard by city council and will not be considered for this development commission meeting. The department recommendation, the requested LAR1 limited apartment residential district will allow for a 24 unit apartment building that is consistent with the Southeast Land Use Plan's recommendation of mixed use 1 or less than 24 dwelling units per acre plan uses at this location. Staff finds submitted site plan and conceptual building elevations to be consistent with Columbus citywide planning policy and design guidelines, and the proposal will further the city's objective of creating housing. City Department's recommendation is for.
Okay, any questions? Dan, traffic issues?
Nothing to add to the staff report.
Okay, Chris?
No further comments.
Okay, we got some speakers, I think. In a second. Would you like to add anything to the staff's presentation?
I would. I'd like to give you a little history.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. My name is Dave Perry. I'm here as agent for the applicant Tijan Incorporated.
And my name is Elias Duati, and I'm the president of Tijan Incorporated.
Okay. Just for the Development Commission members' information, 2 other project team members are in the audience, and that is Attorney Ron O'Brien. Ron is the attorney for this application, and also Melanie Wallenberg, who is consulting on the application on aspects other than the zoning. So, okay, so Development Commission members, this site has been zoned C4 since 1963. 1963. The site was platted as part of the Walnut Bluff subdivision about 1963. And so I started looking around for historical aerial photography because I'm surprised the site hasn't been developed. I mean, that's a long time that this site was platted as the Walnut Bluff subdivision. So here's what I found. 1965. Some of the streets are in, some of the houses, but none of the commercial. This site is zoned commercial, and a parcel next to it is zoned commercial. So then in 1971, I'm told this site was developed with a gas station. And 71 was shortly before the city classified gas stations as C5 uses. So a gas station was permitted in the C4 at that time in 1971. In 1971, the small 3-bay commercial building abutting to the east was also there. It's about a 6,000 square foot building, very small retail building. Okay, in 1983, aerial photography, commercial development on this site was gone. And I wasn't able to find anything between 1971 and 1983, but I know it was gone. The gas station was gone by 1983. So think about that for a moment. For 42 years, maybe longer if it was gone before 1983, for 42 years, this C4 site has been vacant. And that to me gets the wheels turning about the viability of commercial uses at this site. For 42 years, this parcel has been vacant. So this site, let's see, Phil, could you go back to the mapping a little bit, or Tim? Yeah, is there a, yeah, that one, that's good, yeah. So this site is very internal to the Walnut Bluff subdivision. And look at the amount of commercial. And that consists of the 3-bay retail commercial use abutting to the east. I think the next one is a daycare, and there may be some ground that's not used there. I'm not sure exactly on the parcels. And then there's a parcel to the north that is used. Yeah, thank you. There's a parcel to the north owned by the Youth Athletic League that is undeveloped, zone C4, and intermittently used for parking. So we have a C4 site that has been vacant for 42 years. Adjacent to some existing retail commercial that's been there a long time. And our applicant proposes to build a 2-story, 24-unit apartment building, all 1-bedroom units. Now I know you all know this, but let me point out for purposes of the meeting that apartments can occur here anyway. This isn't about whether apartments are there or not. Apartments in a different form can be there. And there's various letters, email in the packet about whoever sent them. They don't want apartments. Apartments bring traffic, crime, noise, undesirables. Those are big statements because apartments can occur here anyway. It just depends on the form of the building. But TGen has proposed to build a 2-story, 24-unit apartment building, all 1-bedroom units. The building has been designed very carefully for the neighborhood. It's 2-story. The neighborhood is, all of the buildings in the subdivision are single-story, such as ranch homes, 1.5 stories or 2-story. So the architect very carefully designed this building to not be imposing and not be 3-story, not be 4-story with a height variance. So let's see, Phil touched on the Southeast Area Plan. And I'll read just a bit of that from you. Okay, so Southeast Area Plan recommends mixed use. And there's a couple categories of mixed use, but recommends mixed use 1. And I want to read to you and into the record the description of mixed use 1. Commercial classification with residential uses supported. Development may include a mix of uses on one site, for example, residential units located either above and or next to the commercial uses, or it may include only one use per site. It's exactly what we have. This project is in compliance with the Southeast Area Plan. Southeast Area Plan is pretty recent, 2019. It's not like it's 25 years old. But this project is completely in accordance with the area plan. The planning staff, Tim had the building elevations, building renderings up. Planning staff has reviewed and supports the architecture consistent with C2P2. This application was initially submitted as a straight AR1 zoning. I later became involved and changed it to limited AR1. And what the limited AR1 does is, what I wanted to represent to you is that exactly this project is what is permitted, not any apartment building. But exactly this apartment building is permitted with 2-story. It can't go to 3-story. The height is limited to 2-story and 23 feet. And this site plan with the setbacks shown and the parking and so on. I didn't want any question about, well, okay, now it's AR1, but maybe we'll build something different than it was represented as. So the limitation text establishes ties to the site plan, ties to the height, location of the driveway as specified by traffic management, and a variety of other things that you would expect to see. This land use relationship, I mean, despite the fact that apartments are permitted anyway over a ground level commercial use, this land use relationship of an apartment building, apartments as a land use being near or adjacent to single family dwellings, or near or adjacent to commercial uses, or near or adjacent to parkland. This occurs all over the city. You've all seen this 1,000 times with zoning applications. There's nothing unusual about this request, either with the specific of the request or the land use relationships that are proposed. What is surprising to me is, in the context of this being recommended for mixed use as defined, and mixed use, honestly, with the 1973 zoning for this subdivision, that there aren't apartments already in the subdivision. There have been area commission objections to the location of the apartments, and that apartments should be only on the arterials, on Hamilton Road and Refugee Road. And that's fine. Perfectly valid land use to put apartments on the arterials. But there are many examples of this arrangement of types of housing in close proximity to each other. So, Development Commission, I know there are opposition speakers, and I will close for the moment with that, but request an opportunity to address the comments that you'll hear.
Okay, we'll bring you back to the 3 speakers. Vote. Who would like to be our first 3 speakers? 3 minutes.
Mr. Chair, if I could just say one last thing. I forgot to mention in the presentation that in the supplemental packets, you would find 10 letters of opposition plus the 11 that I received that was not included in the supplemental packet. There was also a letter in support of the project that I received as an add.
Is anyone here from this southeast area?
I would like to ask a parliamentary question with regards to the amount of time that's given for each speaker. I'm the chair of the Greater Southeast Area Commission. I would like to ask a question with regards to the amount of time that's given for each speaker. If there are not 3 speakers, 4 here to speak, aren't we allowed to get more time based on the rules to speak if we are against?
Well, I'm going to be, since it's 6 o'clock on the nose, as you mentioned that. I'm going to say, you want to use 9 minutes, 4 minutes and a half between 2 people, 9 minutes, 1 person. It's okay.
But we can't have the against people's time since they're not here to speak or no one here to speak for the against. I mean, for the 4 people, if there's no one here for to speak.
Well, the applicant's here, I think. Is there someone here who wants to speak in favor of the project?
So can we have their 6 minutes? Since
No,
they're
you
not here?
can't.
Well, I was asking because it says.
Is there an area commission member? Yes.
I am the chair of the commission, yes.
If you get 3 minutes and then you have 3 more speakers at 3 minutes each.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're.
And do are the 3 people that can speak, are can they be on the commission or off the commission? So if they're just all.
They can just be local homeowners that have a.
Okay. Well, I'd like to have our first person that wants to
Well,
speak.
we'd like you to be the first speaker.
Mr. Chair, just before we start, if I could ask a quick question. When I looked at the outline for this project, or for how these speakers work. It's my understanding that somebody living within 125 feet can speak. The commission has a speaking space, and then someone else can have a speaking space. So I think.
No,
the gentleman here lives
you're
within
not, you're not gonna get that done when you go to city council. This is like a practice round. So get your message out. With, besides the area commission, which is independent, you have 3 speakers. They should represent the attitude and the issues that are prevalent in the
I understand.
area.
I was just reading the rules that were laid out on the paper that you submitted.
No, that, I've been here 30 years, that's the beginning place, so.
I just read it. There was four.
Well, I have, in interest of time, I have 3 people that I want to speak, and I want to recap what they speak. I want to speak after them. I don't want to speak before them. So if you don't mind, can I pick the
Go last.
order?
You're the
Okay, thank
first
you.
person in 30 years that wanted to go last.
Doug is a resident. He is very close to that area, and I would like for him to speak first.
I'd like to just submit these pictures of the area that were taken within a recent period of time, pass those around. My name is Doug Hatcher. I'm a resident of the Walnut Heights area, 2713 Mountain Crest Street. I moved to this area 10 years ago. I bought my house as a rental property. Within 30 days, I loved my neighbors better here than after 17 years living in Dublin. I decided to stay. The neighborhood itself is just so many great people. And then when we're going to add in apartments into the middle of this is the whole purpose of why we're here. The pictures I'm submitting are to show the landlord on how he maintains his property. So it took a resident to call the city to get him to mow the weeds down that were over 4 feet tall. When they mow, they just mow over the garbage that's out there. When you look at these pictures, you're going to see that there's trees blocking the sidewalks. So handicapped people can't even walk down the sidewalks without going into the streets. This landlord doesn't care. We bring these points up to him at the commission meetings, and he just continues into the same fashion. You'll notice big tires that have been left into his property. And you can see the stakes that actually show that it's within his property line. They've been there for weeks. What does it take? So when the property was purchased, it was purchased as a commercial property. He bought it knowing it was commercial. He bought it with the intention of wanting to put in apartments that are going to look down on the residents across the street and lower their property values. Nobody's going to want to live in that house across the street. When, as a commercial building, I think it's going to better suit the neighborhood because the landlord will be taken care of less. The business owners take care of their own space. And, you know, I run 30 buildings inside the city of Columbus. So I know what it takes. I know what we have to do as a business owner. He himself, as a landlord, as a business owner, would be only responsible for a very small area that his business people that are renting from him would be keeping him under control. So I'm asking you just to look at the ethics that he has from the past, because the past does present the future. And he's had the ability to correct it. I personally have put him on notice for this garbage. There's still garbage across his property zone.
You're speaking about the same level as
This property right here, that's all, it's a grassed area. But people cannot even get to the sidewalks to walk around that corner because there's a tree on the far right-hand side inside his property zone. On the far left-hand side, there's a tree. Both those have been blocking that property for over a year. What would it take for him to see that? It should be normal, everyday business if he cares.
landlord in this room right now.
Sure.
Where'd you go? Right there.
Okay. all right.
So, and I've talked to him personally about it. They've threatened us with pawn shops and strip clubs and smoke shops if it becomes a business. If we're going to get threatened, why can't we just talk on what it would really be, barber shops going in too. This is stuff that our community would support. And we're asking for your support in helping our community grow, not get worse.
Okay.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Next speaker.
The next speaker would be Amber Demosh. She lives at 5038 Carbondale Drive.
I did bring a few copies of my statement. I wasn't sure how many members there were. Over the course of the last 18 months, many of us have participated in focus groups, general meetings, and surveys focused on the Eastland area revitalization. Through the course of these meetings, the area as a whole has drilled down on things we mourned losing and hopeful additions for the future. As outlined by the City of Columbus, this effort intends to beautify, increase business opportunities, increase area safety, and restore the Eastland area to the vitality it once had. One of the most repetitious concerns in the area has been the lack of neighborhood accessible green space. While there are many area parks located within the Eastland area, few to none are accessible for use by actual tenants of the area. A glaring example lies on New Bixby, NASCAR Park. A green space established for the area has become a commercial sports field for all intent and purposes. This proposed development would reduce green space directly within the borders of a residential area, space that is currently used for dog walking, the random gathering of family and friends for a cookout, neighborhood Easter egg hunts, Thanksgiving football, etc. Unfortunately, the proposed development would also diminish the aesthetics of the area. While my community may not have the structural appeal of a Worthington or Dublin, the mock-ups of the proposed development resemble housing structures I generally see in more downtrodden areas of the city, for example, Mock Road. The developers have held that they intend to help the neighborhood. In what circumstance would this 24-unit structure help the neighborhood? It is simply a business opportunity for the owners. While I and my neighbors are clearly aware of the need for affordable housing within Columbus, we hear of it with every newscast and experience it with each increase to our property taxes and long-term rents. Destroying a single-family neighborhood by placing an apartment building smack in the middle of it is not the solution. I can say with absolute truth, I purchased my home because of the green space, because of the relative quiet and lack of congestion. Many of my neighbors can say the same. While we have heard the traffic studies in the area, every resident of Carbondale at all can attest to the excessive influx of cars, the dangerous speed in the area. Lived experience is worth far more than a study done on a random Tuesday in June. An additional 24 units in such a truncated space will only add to this. Additionally, the community is surrounded on Old Refugee, New Bixby, and Bryce with apartment buildings. The key here is surrounded by, not mixed with. We are a single-family neighborhood from edge to edge. As I understand the carrot and stick of most negotiations, the community has come together to offer alternate suggestions. Another area of concern discussed with the Eastland Plan, senior housing. 1 floor, 6 to 8 units with reasonable rents. This would allow the developers to receive income as intended, and the neighborhood would welcome this as an alternative. A suggested mixed use, perhaps minimal residential and multiple businesses, has been rejected by the developers as not viable. We are unsure how this was concluded, as multiple businesses have historically done moderately well in precisely that spot. An additional alternative would be for the City of Columbus to purchase this lot and the adjoining privately held lot to expand Mayberry Park, a community garden, a skate park, or any number of recreational opportunities exist within that parameter. Many of my neighbors were unable to attend this meeting, And I suppose I have taken up the mantle for the retired, the disabled, the shift workers, those afraid of public speaking, and the pessimists who have lost faith anything can be won in this battle. I will conclude by saying we are to a man opposed to this 24-unit development. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
You. Okay, last speaker.
Good evening, members. I have a visual of what is going to become known as the Eastland for Everyone Community Plan. That way you have some sort of idea on what I'm referencing in my comments tonight.
Okay, stop.
Good evening. My name is Mark Harper. I serve as the vice chair.
Yeah, give your name.
Yep, my name is Mark Harper. I'm the current vice chair and zoning chair for the Greater Southeast Area Commission. Tonight I'm urging you to vote against Z24-024, the rezoning application for this 24-unit apartment building at 4097 Glendora Drive. I believe this proposal conflicts with the Eastland Community Plan, a plan that's supported by the mayor and city council, and undermines the vision our residents have worked hard to establish for the neighborhood. When we updated our land use plan in 2018, this parcel was designated as part of a civic center to support multiple uses, such as commercial spaces or potentially a two-story mixed-use building where owners could live above their businesses. This proposal that's presented tonight disregards that vision and disrupts the integrity of this traditionally single-family neighborhood. There was never any intention when we did our land use plan that this parcel was to be identified for a project such as this one with multi-use apartments. The Eastland Community Plan calls for dense housing along major corridors like Chatterton, Hamilton, Refugee, and Bixby roads, while reserving interior areas like this for less dense, community-focused uses. With over 5,200 housing units that have either been built, under construction, or approved in our area since 2018, in which 2,000 to 3,000 of those units are anticipated within the next 5 years, we've already exceeded what we perceive to be our growth expectations and our participation in helping address the housing crisis. While we recognize that there is a housing crisis and we want to be a partner in addressing it, this proposal does not meet the balanced approach outlined in the plan for a cohesive and sustainable community. This application has truly galvanized our community, bringing out over nearly 100 nearby Walnut Heights residents in opposition, resulting in the largest commission meeting in our entire history. Their strong consensus is clear, is that this project does not align with the neighborhood's needs. The zoning committee and our full commission heard these concerns and unanimously recommended disapproval. This project's density poses significant challenges, pushing multifamily housing into the heart of a single-family neighborhood. It also continues to exacerbate first mile, last mile transit issues, considering that this is not in a close proximity to public transit. And will also exacerbate existing parking problems during community and youth league events on the adjacent grassy area. Additionally, the applicant's proposed changes in our second meeting, they only propose to remove one unit to create a small community office space and offered a financial contribution of an undisclosed amount. I believe that it fails to address the fundamental concerns of the community or align with the Eastland Plan's vision. I believe it also fails their continued statement that we heard of hearing the community out and trying to be a good community partner. If that statement is to be true, it requires one to reach out to a community seeking what they desire rather than an attempt to present what they think they need, and also being attentive at their meetings rather than playing on their phones, which actually happened multiple times. This parcel represents a unique opportunity to support small business growth and foster economic development. Small businesses are vital to the vibrancy of Walnut Heights and the greater Southeast area, and this site is ideally suited for commercial or mixed-use development as mentioned before. Preserving it for this purpose aligns with the Eastland's plan, community plan, goals, and ensures long-term community benefits. In its current form, the proposal disregards the planning efforts and priorities established in the Eastland Plan by its respective communities. And so I ask you to stand with the Walnut Heights community, the mayor who urged the Eastland Plan to go forward, the Department of Neighborhoods who spent 18 months supporting the development of this plan, and our city council by voting no on this application. I, in my capacity, want to ensure that this parcel fulfills its potential as a community and commercial hub, preserving the vision and values we've worked so hard to establish. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Angela Barnes, and I'm the chair of the Greater Southeast Area Commission. I guess I would just say that I ditto everything that's been presented before you tonight for each one of the people that have spoken and for the 95 people who weren't able to speak before you tonight. This community means a lot to us. It is a housing residence. It only has houses in it at this time with no apartments. They're all single-family homes, and these residents are very tightly knit, and they don't want to have an apartment complex. And as we've stated already, this is part of the Eastland Plan. It is Lindora Plaza. We have plans for it. We know exactly what we want to have put there, and it doesn't include a 2-story apartment complex. So we urge you again not to approve this and to take a look at the Eastland Plan to see what's coming. There is no point in the mayor having us all get together and ask the community what we want, what we'd like to see, go through a plan with a contractor that we've consulted with, only to go against that plan. Now, while we do know that this may have fit into the prior, this current, where we are right now, it may have fit in there. It wasn't our intent for an apartment building to be put there. It was intended for us to have a place for the community to meet and to have outdoor seating, things like that, a barber shop, a business with maybe an apartment above it. But at this point, we want to go with what's in the Eastland Plan and what the community has agreed to on what we want to see. There is a place on the Eastland Plan where they do recommend apartments to be built. And that area is specific on the plan on where they think housing should be added. And this is not part of where they think housing should be added in that plan. So we, again, urge you not to go with this plan at all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bring the applicant back up to the table. David, let me ask you a question. The existing 9,200 of an acre has been zoned C4 for how long?
It's 1963.
Okay, I was a freshman in Oklahoma City. Long time, okay, and nothing commercial has happened there?
No, that's
That's when all the houses were built there.
Okay, so this entire, what I'm looking at in red, this entire corner is zoned for C4.
the entire red area is zone C4. It was zoned from a 1963 zoning. The Walnut Bluff subdivision started, the plat was, let's see, I mentioned the aerial photography I'd looked at. In 1965, there were some streets and houses on the aerial, on the entrance road from Refugee and so on. The frontage of Carbondale on the west side of the site had not been built, and Lindora had not been built. So the subdivision started construction in that 1965 area.
How many acres is the overall red area? You got 0.92 acres where it says site. What's the rest?
Apartment.
No.
To the right.
No, it's, yeah, it's total acreage, maybe 5.
Maybe
between 4 and 5 total.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and you're only taking this one bite at a time.
This piece is vacant for 42 years. The piece to the piece to the east is developed with a 3-bay, 6,000 square foot retail shop. And then there's a small daycare building beyond that. The ground to the north of this is zone C4 and is owned by the Youth Athletic League and is used intermittently for parking.
Mr. Berry, I apologize if you answered this question earlier. I didn't catch it. You mentioned that with the C4 zoning, this could allow for apartments.
Sure.
Why rezone?
Good question. I'm glad you asked that. Number one, the fact that this site has been vacant for 42 years should tell you something about the viability of commercial uses at this location.
Why not, but my question is why not, if apartments
Oh,
are visible under C4, why not just build apartments under C4?
Because it requires ground level commercial. The apartments are permitted use over the ground level.
I see. So a mixed use that included a residential element would be allowed, but the reason you're here is you want to do residential.
The reason this application is here is because the proposal is 2 stories of residential, not 2 stories of residential over commercial uses.
Question, I'm not sure if this is best directed to you or if this is a planning question. The Southeast Land Use Plan recommends mixed use 1 fewer than 24 dwelling units per acre. Would we consider it consistent with mixed use 1 to have purely residential? Do you understand that question? Maybe that-
Yes.
Yes, so
Or
mixed
intent.
use 1 classification allows for mixed use, mixing of uses, so
That's
residential and commercial, residential above commercial, solely residential, solely commercial is a mix. Okay.
but the chief individual parcel doesn't necessarily have to be great.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which was not our intention.
Mr. Carey. Mr. Carey, I want to reiterate what I said about the mixed use. It specifically calls out that development may include a mix of uses on one site, for example, residential located either above or adjacent to, or it may include only one use per site.
Sure.
So the proposed apartment is completely consistent with the area plan.
I think it's not. It is in here, because obviously, the plan, the mix. Okay, sorry, I went C4, it's better. Okay.
Yeah.
How long does this property owner own the property?
2023. I don't remember the exact date, but 2023.
Well, I'm seeing excellent proof that there's no interest in commercial at this intersection over 60 years.
There is interest with the Eastland plan that it will be commercial. That's part of the plan is to make it a commercial, is to utilize it as a commercial property with.
The problem
within the
is,
plan.
this man here put his own money out and bought this land. He has property rights. In the perfect world, he'd be a perfect good neighbor. He's mesh, he could buffer and fit into the neighborhood with a reasonable use. You could have a bunch of shops and dump trucks and dumpsters and all kinds of people buzzing in and out of this property because there already exists. But nobody has that intent to do a business deal based on that happening. In the perfect world, you would say to this gentleman, hey, let me write you a check and buy that property for you because we're going to put it into the land bank for the greater good of the area. That's how very things work. But the clock is ticking and you can't, in my opinion, dictate to a landowner he needs to vacate his ideas and his goals because you got a plan and you're working on it. Everybody's got a plan, but sometimes it takes a long time to make it happen.
That's not part of
He
the
has to put
two-story apartment complex was not ever in our plan to have that, even though that's what the city calls it is mixed use. Our understanding of mixed use was commercial at the bottom with possible retail at the top at that time. So he's not even trying to do that. He's just trying to do 2 layers of apartments, which we don't want. We never have one of that.
But
It's never been in the plan.
He has the right to do that right now.
So I have another question. Sorry to cut in here. We mentioned earlier that in 1965, this area wasn't fully built up yet. When was the most of this residential construction in this area added? When did this area become as approximately as densely populated as it currently is?
Probably
Millwall built in the sixties. Where that property is, that's where New Bixby used to be. So New Bixby actually drove right past that property, and that's why there was a gas station on that corner. As that area developed, New Bixby moved to the left, and that's where the commercial property became in the middle. Nobody's denying him the right to make money. It's just, he's a poor landlord for residential spaces.
And Mr. Carey, New Bixby is an arterial, and the gentleman just said the gas station went out of business after the arterial was moved, which again should suggest the viability of this location for commercial uses.
Gas station has to be on a main road. It's not going to do business inside. The other businesses are doing fine.
And Mayor,
Okay, Mr. Chairman, may I address the Eastland plan?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. As was already stated, the City of Columbus is engaged with a planning company and city staff and the community groups for the Eastland plan. It is close to a final draft, and if that final draft is accepted, then sometime in 25 it'll get to City Council. But you know, the Eastland plan, I've read the draft, and the draft is wonderful. If Eastland is redeveloped according to that plan, it'll be amazing. But Eastland Mall is 90-ish something acres. And we're talking about redevelopment of a defunct regional mall, 90 acres. And the plan calls for massive infrastructure improvements to Refugee and Hamilton, and all that requires funding. So I hope for the sake of the city that Eastland Mall is Northland 2.0. But Northland 2.0 took 20 years. And it has financial incentives for the development that's occurred there and so on. And none of that's in place. None of this will occur quickly. And Northland Mall is every bit of what Eastland Mall, Northland Mall was every bit of what Eastland Mall is in terms of the scope of the redevelopment that's being discussed. You know, I want to point out a couple things on reading the Eastland plan. We're talking about massive redevelopment of a former regional mall, and where would a plan say to place apartments in conjunction with that redevelopment other than on the arterials? In a 90-acre redevelopment, of course there will be apartments as a component of that. And the plan says put them on Refugee and Hamilton, of course. But what it doesn't say is don't put apartments anywhere else. It's prescriptive for the redevelopment of Eastland Mall. It doesn't say there shouldn't be apartments anywhere else. But for this redevelopment, they should be on Hamilton and Refugee. And
That's not a good interpretation.
and then
of what they said we were at.
on Mayberry, excuse me, on Mayberry Park in the Eastland plan, I want to read what the recommendations are for Mayberry Park. Mayberry Park is the park that's within this subdivision. Strengthen connections with surrounding uses. Okay, great. That's good. Walking paths and so on. Add seating and shade near the play area. Again, great. Incorporate fitness stations along the existing walking trail. Again, fantastic. Keep the flexible lawn and consider adding a gazebo. Encourage the activation of the park through neighborhood-led programming, movie nights, block parties, farmers market, et cetera. Fantastic community activities. And number 6, consider future opportunities to expand Lindora Plaza into a neighborhood node. But I will note for you that on the Mayberry Park depiction, This site is not part of that depiction. It's next to Lindora Plaza because that's what that small retail and daycare area is called. It's called Lindora Plaza, but this site is not within the shading of that, of the Lindora Plaza depiction. And quite honestly, any strip center, any daycare building built in, I'll say 1970s, because I don't know exactly when they were built, but early 70s. It's the development that's there is what you would expect for 1970s, 1960s development. Buildings very deep on the parcel, gigantic parking fields, and minimal landscaping. And is there an opportunity for redevelopment of those two commercial uses or enhancement or beautification? You bet there is. But Tejan's parcel is not depicted on that depiction of the Mayberry Park in the Eastland plan.
I want to point out real quick. This is a park. This is a site. We live here.
Ma'am,
I might be out of order. I just want to make sure people see that.
Question, and that's for the landowner. How many times have you worked with the local area commission in regards to your development plans for this project?
We have met one time.
No, three times. Janice, just a second. Let me ask Ron O'Brien to address that because there were multiple meetings and it was before I was involved. So,
Thank you.
Ron will know firsthand.
Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, we met at the site itself probably in late August, early September. Mr. Harper was kind enough to send out a notice to folks that were nearby. That was after the application was made and we had received some inquiries. That was attended by maybe 15 area residents, including some commission members. And we talked about what Mr. Duati wanted to do with the premises, what the application contemplated, and certain issues were raised, parking, crime, noise, those kind of things. We talked to them about contribution to the neighborhood in terms of the park that was next door in the youth league. And then later there were two, I think, zoning committee meetings that we attended at the church that's nearby, just I think north of the lot. And again, we spoke with representatives of the commission in the neighborhood. And then there was a second zoning committee meeting because it was tabled after the first one. And throughout, we were discussing what the various members would like to see, what the options were. We talked about, in terms of complying with a question about mixed use, on the first floor, we explored a coffee shop on the corner, giving up one of the apartment units and putting in a coffee shop. But in talking, Ray Jones, who has a coffee shop on Sunbury Road there, was a consultant that we talked to, and he did not feel that that was viable, having gone through establishing a coffee shop in the federal building here downtown and up there on Sunbury Road, that it wouldn't be a viable use. And so that was, even though not accepted, we didn't feel it was viable. And then finally talked about a community room there that could be used for community use. And at least the zoning committee then voted it down and the commission voted it down. We've not had any further discussions since then.
I have a concept here. I understand both sides of this situation. I always respect the property rights of the landowner to seek his highest and best use. That's pretty normal. But you have to fit in. And even though this property is laying there barren, it's a great place to have Easter egg hunts and play touch football. But that's not what the owner of that land has in mind. He's allowed to have his own perspective. But in my opinion, he has to fit in and be a good neighbor. And I think there's a way to do a little bit less building. You've got 105 feet across that parking lot layout. You only need 70. You can have a parking lot with like 62 feet across bumper to bumper. So there's room to set in and have a bit of a boundary along the south and north, south and east side of this parcel. Which then you can fence, but I put more than 3 trees on one side and 2 trees on the other side. That's okay for the street side. But something's gonna happen back in the back of this property. And you don't own that, right?
No.
You don't own that in the back. So something's gonna happen back there, even if it's a park. You might be able to turn that into a park 5 years from now. Whatever happens back there deserves to be separated from this commercial or residential configuration. And then whatever happens back there has a chance to stand on its own 2 feet. You don't have to make a painful, bleeding sacrifice to make it happen. But when I look at the dimension on the sheet of 105 feet from the base of the building to the property, you have the latitude to set that parking back in a little bit. You might lose 1 space, and I think the city, the variance commission would give you a break there. And for the time being, it would benefit both your renters and whatever that use of that property. And right now, who knows who's using that property? It's not your fault if there's tree branches on that property. You don't own it. You only own the corner piece. And when you own that corner piece and do something with it, you're not going to have any tenants if you have tree branches and 4 feet of leaves laying around. Right. You're going to have to clean it up.
Right.
Now there's a reason. Right now, it's just going to be land. So I would recommend you go back to the drawing table and look at that 105 feet and see what you can do to skinny that up, and then put a stronger buffer on the going to call the east and north fringe of the property, so that you can separate yourself from whatever is happening back there and be independent of it. Maybe the day comes that you take the fence down. Maybe not, but nothing happens overnight. You can't snap your fingers and make it happen. And like John was saying, the forces to improve the Eastland Shopping Center aren't going to happen very fast, but they will happen. So you have the best of both worlds by making a minor adjustment. It wouldn't affect your budget much. It would affect it some. It's not going to be free. Get a little bit less building. But I think that would resolve the effect you would have on these 2 sides of building.
Mr. Chairman, both of those directions are the commercially zoned property as opposed to residential property.
Right. Right, and I'm just saying, as a practical matter, if you want this issue to go away, this is one way to have it go away so that it works for everybody. You probably have a legal right to do anything you want, because it's already zoned before. You can put a cigar store there. So how can this work so it works for everybody? I would think if somebody wanted to put a commercial use on that corner, it's kind of an intrusion into the single family homes. It's not very easy to do. Secondly, you never find any customers that far off the road that would even know you were there. So how can you fit in and do something multi-family surrounded by single family and not make such a heavy impact?
My thoughts exactly as I reviewed this project. The commercial uses, I think, would quickly become objectionable due to signage. due to other aspects of commercial uses and
Traffic all day long.
yeah, and I'm not talking about, nobody, I'm not, but nobody is talking about strip clubs or anything else. But there are attributes of commercial uses that are objectionable to fronting single-family homes. Whether it's signs or hours or patio open till 2 o'clock in the morning, when the state requires the liquor to stop. But so I agree with you on the commercial and also just the relative viability of it. We can add, the fencing to be added on the north and east is fine. I could commit to that now. The parking lot is designed, there've been, not from the city, but from the various community meetings, there's been statements about parking. So this parking area is designed to max the parking. That aisle is wider than it needs to be, but again, it's designed to maximize the parking. If the aisle gets skinnier, then the parking count will go down. By how many, I don't know, until it would be laid out. But that's the reason it's laid out this way.
I just would also like to say that, it's really important for developers, landowners to establish those, especially when you're getting ready to develop in an area. So it's important for you to actually collaborate with the individuals who are landowners in the area. Again, totally understand you own that land, it is your parcel. But it is important for you to develop that relationship, and that goes to the complaints, about your ability to care for them. So just wanted to add that little piece to it, that's important.
Okay. I agree with you completely. Pick up the trash, mow the grass. It will be a different scenario with a building built there.
Sir, I might be online. I just want to make one statement. That strip mall's right beside his property. We had a pizza shop in there from the beginning of that neighborhood and to the early 2000s that did fantastic business. And the only reason it went out is because the gentleman died.
Well, that's not going to affect what we're talking about here. That speaks well of the neighborhood.
We're just talking about the support of the neighborhood. We would support the businesses and buildings.
I would say we're at a point where we either table this and come back with an updated design, or you make an agreement to put fence up on two sides. Provide some buffering, so that what you do on your piece of ground is minimally impacted. Probably do a bunch.
Mr. Chairman.
Can we, as I indicated, the fence will be fine, but both directions, would we be able to quantify where you're thinking on getting this to, that can then be demonstrated to staff and traffic and planning and so on, rather than tabling?
Again, this is zoning, and you're talking LAR1.
Right.
You're not committing to a site plan.
But it is.
This is really devoid of amenity. I mean, this is just sort of bare knuckles development. And, this community is emotionally connected to this, just by, the presence here and what they've said. You would think that there would be a better overture with site amenity on this thing, rather than just, I've got a piece of monopoly, I've got a 24 unit building I can drop on here, and it doesn't speak to the scale of the neighborhood. It doesn't. I mean, yes, you're limited to 2 stories, but there's a lack of sensitivity, and I think you could benefit by that, and I think you might be able to find some common ground there. Why walk across a parking lot to established commercial stuff, and you know, it's kind of like, you don't need a sea of asphalt in a single family residential neighborhood. I can leave this as a guideline. This is, you headed direction of this, where you've got some trees that go along with that fence, and they could be the right species of trees. Both sides. You already stated you're gonna put some trees on the street sides.
Right.
Put at least 3, maybe at least 5, maybe 6. To soften the two-story brick wall. Then move down the street, there's some trees, or something behind it that is just be good. There's a lot of ways this can fit in. And achieve respect for property rights of the applicant. Without steamrolling the
Okay, we'll table the application. Mr. Chairman, I think, I hear what you're saying. I've got some ideas of what to do. I think we were looking to not make a barrier to the east, the existing commercial. Your points on to the north and bumping up the landscaping on the streets and in the parking lot are well taken. We may not want to come back with a, you know, this is us and this is you kind of thing with the commercial.
Well,
And particularly if, on the comment about a pizza shop, if it was successful, why isn't there a new one? Why hasn't there been a new one? But if there was a pizza shop, then these tenants are gonna go there. They're gonna get pizza.
well, in the situation, time is one of the Einstein's factors.
Yeah.
You know, that's Alfred guy.
Yeah.
Where you can have an ultimate long-range plan, you got this getting incremental to that point. Something like this would satisfy life and rich kind of world without stealing it all, making it impossible. And it wouldn't, you could take sections of the fence and reassign those pieces of the fence and put them somewhere else.
Yeah.
And recapture the value. Depending on the species of tree, we can replant the tree, so. But in the meantime, what you think maybe is only gonna be 6 or 8 months, might be 6 or 8 years. And then you coexist and.
Yeah.
They're kicking a soccer ball and, you know, bounce off the wall, fence and get back. Everybody's gonna be in a happier place until something else comes along and changes. And it might be you, like do additional buildings. Right now, we're dealing with this, we've got boxes of site.
Right. We'll look at,
Leave this with.
well, I just have one other question, and that is whether you'll sign and date that, so we have an original Fitzpatrick.
Do it right now.
Okay.
What's the? There you go.
Thank you.
All right, I would like to, make a motion to table the project.
I'm gonna call it on that.
Okay. Okay,
So I need to know.
okay, I need a motion to call for Davis.
Mr. Chairman, can I just make one comment?
It's very brief and quick. Not, we're gonna go ahead and vote. You want to stay after final?
Well, I think it's something very important for everyone to hear.
Well,
As I
Not to vote to table the application.
we're
No,
gonna
I'm appreciative, but
ask for.
go ahead.
We're gonna do our business. If you want to talk later, you're free to talk later.
Okay.
Okay. A motion to go on. So moved.
Seven.
Okay, all those in favor of taking that vote? Okay, please call the roll for taking.
Johnny Wilson? Yeah. Dave McClure?
Yes.
David Carey?
Yes.
Nancy T. Shanklin?
Yes.
Maria Pomeroy?
Yes.
Trevor Stoddard?
Yes.
Thank you all. I know it's been a long discussion.
1 hour and 2 minutes.
I think you got through the other 11 in the same amount of time.
Are we adjourned or?
They have, so well received, probably in this, whatever, you know. But that's like, what I have. Never the case for since council.
Oh, okay, but we can have the other people, we just have some, you couldn't make it today.
Right. Anyone who has. Provide, so.
And all of the city commission, so that will get, so I don't have to be, you only because they get it, again, city council. It's thrown on. That's the thing.